watching The End Zone, sponsored by Lucky Star Casino.
And welcome to another edition of The End Zone, along with Josh Callaway. I am Colby Daniels, fresh off a plane from Indiana and back in the great state of Oklahoma. And I must say, Oklahoma has never looked more beautiful than it did stepping off the plane today. Game 6 was a complete disaster. We'll get into that. But Josh, there's an old saying. I want you to fill in the blank here. There's an old saying in sports. The best two words in sports are...
Game 7.
Game 7.
We get
so
one.
we will have a Game 7. I mean, if there's one silver lining from what happened this week at Indiana at the Gainbridge Fieldhouse, I've struggled to say that all week long. Gainbridge Fieldhouse. It's that we're going to watch a Game 7 in OKC. The eyes of the entire sporting world will be on OKC. It's going to be electric. I think it's going to be an all-time atmosphere. All that. We'll get to that, though.
Yeah, for sure.
Because I think we are still somewhat digesting what happened in Game 6. Where do you start? I think it's got to be the disappointment, right, of just what the product was for the Thunder. If you lose Game 6, whatever, you get that the Pacers were going to play with urgency and their season was on the line. But the Thunder being 48 minutes from winning an NBA championship and displaying whatever you want to call that was pretty wild and shocking to see how they just couldn't, I think, survive the punch, the physicality of the Indiana Pacers.
Yeah, it's just disappointing, like you said, especially considering that we kind of already saw the Thunder do this a couple other times. I think of Game 3 against Minnesota, certainly. Game 6 against Denver, spots where the Thunder didn't need it as much as the home team, the team they were playing, and they just didn't quite match the urgency and intensity that Indiana played with. I mean, that game looked a lot like one team didn't need to win, literally, and the other team literally did, or it was over, right? And, I mean, just kind of did a little of everything you couldn't do. Didn't get a lot of bench production, didn't shoot well, turned the ball over. The Stars didn't really get much going. SJ and J-Dub could never quite get it rolling. And, we talked about it going into just putting some pressure on Indiana, the fact their backs were against the wall. After that 10-2 start, Siakam got that in one. They took off from there. So they never really got to put any heat on the Pacers. So those are the disappointing things. It was just kind of a Murphy's Law game. Like everything that they couldn't afford to do and Indiana wanted to do kind of happened.
It's pretty crazy that they had turned the ball over, I think, 2 of their first 3 possessions or something like that.
Yeah.
Maybe it was 2 of the first 4 possessions. But ultimately, even through that, they had a 10-2 lead. And I'm sitting there watching it, and I will say the crowd in there was extremely timid. All like during pregame shoot around,
right.
They got excited for the pregame intros, obviously, which every home crowd does. But it was a very timid crowd early in the day, even through tip-off in the early stages of the first quarter. They were not juiced, and you didn't get the feeling like they believed the Pacers were about to win Game 6. The Pacers, I thought, played the crowd into the game. Usually the crowd kind of lifts the team. I thought the team brought the crowd into the game with what they did, I think, in moments of the first quarter, but especially in the second quarter. And I thought the Thunder were going to be in a hostile environment to start this game. It was not the case. They were not in a hostile environment to start the game. It was a very timid environment, and still, it just seemed like they were a little bit rattled by the moment, a little bit rattled by everything Indiana brought to the table. They didn't seem like they had a game plan almost, right? It just kind of seemed like they were all just like deer in headlights. I don't know what to do with what Indiana is throwing our direction. And, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, I thought, just never really got into a rhythm. Andrew Nembhard was really physical with him out of the gate. The overall, I think, aggressiveness of rebounding and chasing down loose balls and just making those effort plays was non-existent in comparison to what the Pacers did. And I think that part of it is disappointing. If you lose a game and you just don't shoot the ball well, you didn't shoot the ball well. But all ththose other elements to not be there in a championship opportunity, I think that's why Thunder fans are massively disappointed after Game 6.
Well, I mean, we're going to Game 7 of the finals now, so the sample size is large in this postseason. The Thunder haven't played well on the road. I mean, that's just kind of they've just been an okay team away from the Paycom Center. In Oklahoma City, buzzsaw, could blow out anybody, but on the road, they're 5-5 now on the road, and they've laid some serious duds on the road throughout this entire postseason. We kept thinking that they would maybe be over that with each passing round, and it hasn't happened. Now, they found a way to gut out Game 4, thankfully, despite making 3 threes, it still didn't play great. It wasn't perfect basketball by any means, but they just simply have not found a way to get the bench guys going on the road. They haven't found a way to get the defense rolling, get those big turnovers and those big runs. I know it's easier said than done. It's much easier when you have the home crowd behind you. I get all that, but the stark difference between home and road, it's been kind of shocking to see, frankly, considering how good this team was all year. And they were so good on the road all year. They lost 8 road games all season. It's not like they were some drastically different team. I get it's different in the playoffs. And thankfully for Oklahoma City, they have Game 7 in their building. That's why you win 68 games, you get the 1 seed, because it just hasn't translated on the road in the postseason, I think, the way most fans and the team probably would have hoped it would.
They said all the right things following the Game 5 win all the way through game day of Game 6. I thought they looked the part, especially in pregame shoot-around. I mean, Shea was as razor-focused as he's ever been. J-Dub, I thought, had an extra level of focused intensity in the pregame shoot-around. Chet was extremely focused. Alex Caruso. I mean, all the key cogs were not out there looking any different than they normally do. I mean, I thought they were all just very locked in and ready for the moment. And again, I don't know if it was just Indiana brought something that stunned them out of the gate. It certainly wasn't the crowd, because the crowd was not roaring in the beginning stages of the game. But whatever that was, you hope they're able to flush it and move on. I do want to play some sound because I thought they were pretty honest and authentic,
no doubt,
in the post game about what went down. So let's hear from Jalen Williams.
We didn't do a good job trusting each other to make the next play, like we did Game 5. So we'll look at some things. Obviously, they made a couple adjustments, so we'll look at that too. But a lot of it was just not trusting each other to make the right plays, and that starts with me being better. Figuring out different ways to get my teammates involved and stuff like that. So the good news is we have another game to figure it out.
What do you think he means by not trusting each other?
Yeah, not trusting each other to make the right plays. That gives the impression of, I hear that as everyone went out there trying to do it, like win it themselves, and not play that classic team basketball the Thunder have been so good about, the way they move the ball. I mean, I think J-Dub said it as well last night that he called the offense sticky. I think that was a perfect way to put it. The ball just
100%.
didn't fly around the court like it normally did. And you talk about the timid crowd, and kind of there was this feeling both in Indiana as well as here and nationally that Thunder got this. Maybe there was a Tyrese Halliburton injury news affected people's brains a little bit. I think maybe they were at least partially guilty of that too, of going and thinking we're going to go finish this thing off tonight, and they got hit in the face, in the first quarter when they kind of fell behind and never were able to swing it back in their favor.
The MVP was very blunt about what he thought of their performance in Game 6.
The way I see it is, we suck tonight. We have to learn the lessons, and we have one game for everything we've worked for, and so do they. And the better team Sunday will win.
That was Shai Gilgeous-Alexander following a Game 6 blowout in which the Thunder had an opportunity to clinch their first ever NBA championship. Again, big disappointment that they fell so far short of matching the level of physicality and urgency that the Indiana Pacers brought to Game 6. All right, we'll take a timeout. I do have good news. Game 7, there's some silver linings with turning the page and talking about Game 7. We'll get to that next here on the End Zone.
It's one game for everything you ever dreamed of. If you win it, you get everything. If you lose it, you get nothing. And it's that simple.
One game for everything. That's what Game 7 is all about. You get nothing. Your dreams come true with a win.
Yeah.
I love that he phrases it that way, because it really, I think, puts in context what Game 7 means.
You can't overstate it. It's, like he said, one game for everything. Everything you build for the entire season, it comes down to one game, which is both scary on one hand because it's one game sample size. Anything can happen in one game. One guy has a career night. That flips the whole thing. But the other side, the Thunder have one game in their building. Chet Holmgren said it himself last night. All 30 teams will sign up for this, for the Thunder have, which is one game, 48 minutes in your house to win a title.
That's right.
Thunder have to have that mindset. They have to embrace it, and they've been really good at home, obviously all year, but certainly in the postseason. And only 48 minutes stands between them and a title. It's hard to really almost appreciate how huge it is. it's a fever pitch around here the next couple of days.
Couple of silver linings, as I mentioned before the break. Number one, the Thunder haven't lost back-to-back games the entire postseason. I think they only did it twice in the
and one
regular
of them was when they're
season.
resting guys. They had the one
That's
seed.
right. That's right. So they have bounced back incredibly well. And honestly, some of their best games this postseason have followed a couple of those disastrous losses. So they have shown a ton of championship-type resilience in how they've bounced back from devastating losses. They did it to start this series, right? So that's silver lining number one. Silver lining number two is in the history of the NBA Finals, the home team in Game 7 is 15-4. Clearly, we know that home court advantage matters, and the history of the Finals would also suggest that. And my final point on the silver lining of Game 7, when you look at the entirety of this series, the Thunder have led for 99% of the minutes played at the Paycom Center.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, they have essentially dominated the 3 games that have been played at the Paycom Center, minus the Halliburton game winner in Game 1. They have outplayed the Pacers by a large percentage in those 3 games. And again, you let one slip away. Similarly, though, the Pacers largely outplayed the Thunder in all 3 games at the Gainbridge Fieldhouse. Still can't say it very well.
Tongue twister.
Minus the game the Thunder stole, right?
Yeah,
so each team stole a game that they really didn't play as the better team in that game. They were able to get things going late. But Game 7 being at the Paycom Center, I mean, if we're going to take anything from this series, I think we have to take what we've seen at the Paycom Center over 3 games, and you probably have to throw away most of what you watched at Indiana.
Yeah, it really can't be overstated how huge it is having this game at home. I mean, basically the mindset that I kind of have going into this is that there's little to no chance, sub 1% chance that the Pacers would blow the Thunder out in the Paycom Center, right? Much more likely the other way. The Thunder could maybe run away. So the strong odds are the Thunder are going to be in this game, right? They're going to have a chance in the fourth quarter to go win and win a title. Then it's going to come down to their guys making the plays, and you feel good about that situation. So we'll see. They've been really, really good at home throughout the postseason. It's kind of amazing that there hasn't been a Game 7 of the Finals since 2016.
Right.
It's crazy. It's been that long. There hasn't
Which is
been
not
that
a
many.
good Thunder year, by the way.
No, it was not. There hasn't been that many in the course of the history. But like you said, home teams are very good.
Only 19.
The games tend to be close. I think of the last 10, like 8 or 9 of them were single-digit games, which means that odds are it'll be competitive. But like you said, the home teams tend to win these.
Yeah.
And the Thunder, you pair that with the fact the Thunder have just been excellent at home anyway, it gives you some confidence.
Yeah. Jalen Williams last night after the Game 6 loss discussed just embracing this opportunity and the work that goes into it.
You work really hard in the summer to get better at things, and when they don't come to light the way you want to, it's kind of easy to get off track and feel sorry for yourself. But at the same time, I try and be where my feet are. Like, I'm in the NBA Finals at 24 years old in year 3. So I always try and keep that into perspective, and I'm just going to go into this next game and try and play hard and play better than what I did tonight. And wherever the chips fall, they fall. But I'm not going to go after this game and think like, oh, I didn't play hard, or whatever the case may be. Just relishing the opportunity.
We started the show with the best 2 words in sports are Game 7. There's another saying that is maybe the toughest thing to do in sports, is to close out a playoff series. And now both teams have that opportunity in Game 7, winner take all. Chet Holmgren last night discussed just the difficulty of getting that job done.
I'd say it's very similar to a closeout game in any series. No team's just going to roll over and go home. It's going to be really physical. There's not going to be any favors from the officiating. There's, it's really, you have to make it happen. It's not going to happen by accident. So, we have to learn the lesson from tonight and come back and be better.
If there's one silver lining about what we watched, it was the fact that they seemed genuinely upset about the results. So we'll see what happens in Game 7 on Sunday. Dunk or pass next here on The End Zone. All right, welcome back to The End Zone. It is time for Dunk or Pass. We're switching it up a little bit this week, Josh. I'm going to throw questions your way. You answer them, and I will tell you if you got a dunk if, like last night, maybe you passed on the opportunity to hoist the Larry O'Brien trophy. All right, out of the gate. What is the Thunder panic meter at? What percentage?
I'm going to go like 40%. You've got Game 7 at home. I don't think one game means little to anything on the next game. They could have lost by a buzzer beater or got blown out the way they did. Wouldn't have changed anything for me. I'm going to go 40% panic meter.
Okay, I'm going to pass on that. Because I think it's less. I think people
Lower.
tend to overreact to blowouts.
I'm with you.
Right?
Yeah.
I think sometimes competitive losses to me are more discouraging than blowouts because
Yeah.
sometimes you just wave the white flag. You don't like to see that, but I think it's like it probably should be at like 25%. I
don't hate it.
It
Yeah, I'm
probably
with you.
is more than that, but it should be less than that. All right, Game 6. Was that more the Pacers being great or the Thunder being terrible?
Thunder being terrible. Sloppy with the ball, turning it over, couldn't hit open threes. It felt like a lot more about the Thunder than the Pacers to me. Indiana's really good. So they took advantage. They had the crowd, all that good stuff. But the Thunder just did not play anywhere close to like we're used to seeing, in my opinion.
I mean, next to maybe Game 3 in Minnesota, it might be the worst performance that we've seen from this team all season.
Yeah.
So I'm with you. That's a slam dunk. And that's not to take anything away from what the Pacers did.
Right,
but
I agree.
The Thunder were nowhere near themselves, I thought, at Gainbridge Fieldhouse, which I nailed that time.
There you go.
Who are the top 3 Pacers to worry about in Game 7?
Top 3 page story about TJ McConnell, number 1.
TJ McConnell has to be on the list.
He's 1 through 3, really. I go TJ McConnell, number 1. Probably Tyrese Halliburton, number 2. And then Pascal Siakam, number 3 for me. I mean,
Okay.
Siakam's had a good series. You're not worried about him beating you, I feel like, though. Halliburton, it all goes through him. But TJ McConnell's been the spark plug. You got to find a way to slow him down. Anything you can to slow him down.
I'm going to go dunk on McConnell, dunk on Siakam. I'm going to pass on Halliburton. I think Andrew Nembhard, not only the offensive lift that he gave them out of the gate
hit some big shots,
last night, but I thought his defense and physicality on Shea on the perimeter really disrupted
That's fair.
Shea's game. So I'll go Nembhard for the third one. So dunk, pass on that one. If the Thunder win, are we going SGA MVP or J-Dub MVP of the NBA Finals? Where are you at? Obviously, we'll have to see what happens in Game 7, but where are you at this stage?
I think there's a strong argument for Jalen Williams, but I think SGA probably gets it. It tends to be a little bit of like a playoff long award sometimes, I think. And they've both been really good in the series. J-Dub's had his games, Shea's had his games. I'm guessing on Sunday, Shea's going to have a big night. So I'm going to lean that Shea gets it done and gets his finals MVP.
I'm going to dunk on that. I think it's going to be Shea. I think he's been more consistent through the series than J-Dub has, but I do think J-Dub has a better matchup in the series to have a big game, and especially a Game 7. So I think the opportunity for J-Dub to blow up again in Game 7 is probably a really good shot because I just think the Pacers have a hard time matching up with him. But I'm going to dunk that SGA's consistency over the course of the series is the difference. All right, final one, dunk or pass. OKC will celebrate an NBA championship Sunday night.
I'm going to go with dunk. They haven't lost 2 in a row the entire postseason. You just talked about it. Only lost 2 in a row twice all year. One of them didn't even really count. The Sac has had the 1 seed clinched. They're at home. They've been really good at home. I think it'll probably be a sweaty fourth quarter, be a tense crowd in there. But I do think Oklahoma City at home will get the job done, and people will jump in the canal and lazy river it and all that good stuff.
I think it's going to be one of the most iconic sports atmospheres we've ever seen.
Yeah.
I already feel humbled that I'm going to be in the building for Game 7 and witness just, I think, the iconic OKC crowd going nuts
It's gonna be unbelievable.
in a Game 7 of the NBA Finals. It's going to be incredible, and I think ultimately they get it done, right? We have 3 games in this series of basketball to watch where OKC is, for the large part of that, dominated the Pacers at home.
Right.
I think the Pacers are going to show up, but I have no reason to believe that this one would be drastically different than the other 3 games in this series played at the Paycom
I
Center.
honestly think it's slightly more likely the Thunder win big
I would agree with
than
that.
lose at all.
I would agree with that. All right, there you go. Championship celebration. It's been written. Hopefully
Yeah, I
that,
hope so.
that wasn't a jinx in any way. All right, that is Josh Callaway. I am Colby Daniels. We're talking Game 7 to wrap up the show next. Welcome back one final time to the End Zone along with Josh Callaway. I am Colby Daniels. See what I'm doing right here? This is my excitement level
It's gonna be
about
unbelievable.
witnessing a Game 7. While I think it's incredibly disappointing, not that the Thunder didn't win Game 6, but just that it wasn't like, it didn't feel like, one of those like championship type of battles.
Yeah.
It was just a blowout. That part was very disappointing to me. I'm excited about witnessing a Game 7 where you feel like both teams are going to leave everything out there. So that part of it's going to be fun. As we sign off and give keys to the game, I almost feel like we can copy and paste everything we said about Game 5 coming back to OKC from Indiana the first time into this Game 7 scenario, right? The depth The bench players have to be better. The turnover battle,
Yep.
dealing with the Indiana's urgency. Almost everything that we said about Game 5, I think, translates to Game 7.
100%. All the same things, so really close. I continue to get stuck on the bench. The team that's won the bench battle has won almost every game in this series. The only time that wasn't true was Game 5. And even in Game 5, Aaron Wiggins played well. Obviously, Casey Wallace played well. If the Thunder get production from their bench, Wiggins, Wallace, Caruso, some combination, Kenny Hustle, they win. And so that's a huge key for me again on Sunday night. Bench steps up, they'll be fine.
You ever gone to the State Fair and tried to shoot the basketballs into those tiny rims and never
rigged.
make it?
Yeah.
Luckily, they don't have to shoot at those tiny rims that the Gainbridge Fieldhouse clearly has because they can't make anything from downtown there. But they've shot much, much better in OKC. It's for all the marbles on Sunday night in OKC, Game 7 of the NBA Finals. Along with Josh Callaway, I am Colby Daniels. Hope everyone has a great weekend.